They said nothing, just the same calm deflection, no comment, and the world moved on. Until now, because something has shifted inside the palace walls. For years, everyone believed Archie and Lilibet were the children of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, a story told so confidently that no one dared to question it. But then came a woman known only by two letters, DL. She didn't come to gossip. She came with receipts, signed non-disclosure agreements dated before the births, hospital records from a Colorado clinic, and bank transfers allegedly linking her directly to Meghan and Harry's private team. DL wasn't claiming to be a surrogate. She was claiming to be the biological mother. At first, her words sounded impossible, until her legal team confirmed what they held in their hands. Verified documents, time-stamped, witnessed, and quietly authenticated by attorneys. Because this isn't just another royal scandal. If DL's story is true, this isn't about image, it's about bloodline. To understand how we got here, we have to go back more than a century, to a moment when a king decided exactly who would be royal and who never would be. The year was 1917. Europe was burning, thrones were collapsing, and Britain's monarchy feared it might be next. So King George V took a pen and wrote a law, a royal document that became the backbone of every royal birth that followed. It was called the Letters Patent. It wasn't poetic or emotional, it was legal, clinical, and precise. But inside those lines was the rulebook that defined royal blood for more than 100 years. It declared that only certain children could be called prince or princess, those born of legitimate royal blood, officially recognized by the crown and baptized into the Church of England. 3 simple rules, 3 royal tests that protected the purity of the royal bloodline. And for decades, it worked, until Meghan and Harry's children came along. When the palace looked at Archie and Lilibet, something didn't fit. They weren't born under royal tradition. They weren't baptized under royal law. And the paperwork, the one thing the monarchy values more than emotion, told a very complicated story. When Archie was born in 2019, everything seemed perfect. A healthy baby, joyful parents. The monarchy smiled for the cameras. But behind those smiles, questions were already rising. Was the child's birth properly recorded by the crown? Was his mother's name listed according to royal standard? Did every rule of 1917 still apply, or were exceptions being made? Because the palace doesn't forgive mistakes on paper, and when cracks appear in royal records, those cracks can swallow entire titles. That's what started happening. The monarchy began watching, quietly, patiently, but with growing concern. Archie and Lilibet weren't just children in the eyes of the palace. They were symbols of something deeper, the collision between modern love and ancient rule. And when royal law is broken, even by accident, history must be corrected, no matter who gets erased in the process. Her name never appeared in newspapers, only her initials, DL. In late 2018, months before Archie's birth, DL says she was approached through intermediaries. The request was precise: help a royal couple bring a child into the world. In return, she'd receive 3 guarantees: anonymity, compensation, and complete removal from the public record. No cameras, no acknowledgement, no trace of her name anywhere near the royal story. For DL, it wasn't about fame, it was about trust. She signed what she thought was a private, professional agreement, the kind written by people who keep promises. But when the baby arrived, the silence turned cold. Payments stopped, messages vanished, her legal contact disappeared. It was as if she had never existed. One member of her legal team later described it in a single chilling line: she kept her end of the bargain. They erased her from history. For months, DL waited quietly, believing it was a mistake. But when lawyers traced the payments and saw how they stopped right after the birth, she realized this wasn't a delay. It was a deletion. That's when she decided to speak, not to tabloids, press, not to social media, but to lawyers, because she knew the only language the palace respects is evidence. For years, the world saw Prince Harry as the protective husband, the man who fled the royal machine to protect his wife and children. But according to insiders close to the arrangement, that image hides a darker truth. Harry wasn't just aware of the deal, he helped design it. Sources link the arrangement to a private fertility clinic in California, one with no royal oversight and no official record connecting it to the monarchy. It wasn't managed through palace doctors. It was handled off the books. Harry, they claim, personally approved payment structures, reviewed communications with intermediaries, and decided how DL's identity would be concealed. If that's true, it means the Duke of Sussex didn't stumble into a deception. He engineered it. Think about that contrast. The same man who spent years warning against the lies that killed his mother may have created one of his own. It's a tragic twist, and one that explains why, behind closed doors, Harry now looks less like a man running from the press and more like a man running from himself. Because if this secret breaks, it won't just expose Meghan, it will expose the choices he made to protect her. Inside the Sussex home, silence has replaced strategy. Sources say Harry is unraveling, pacing at night, sleeping alone, and blaming Meghan for letting it all spiral. What once looked like partnership now feels like distance. And Meghan, she's gone completely quiet. No statements, no podcasts, no posts. For someone who once built an empire on controlling her story, this silence feels less like rest and more like surrender. Those close to the palace describe the mood in one haunting phrase: it's not panic anymore, it's resignation. Because inside both households, Montecito and Buckingham, everyone senses the same thing. The moment this story breaks, it won't just bruise reputations, it could rewrite royal history. DL's legal team has now finished assembling what they call the evidence package. Every document, every photo, every email between intermediaries and the Sussex Circle, organized, time-stamped, and ready. Contracts, hospital photographs, payment logs, email threads linking names, dates, and dollar amounts, and they've made it clear, unless a settlement is reached, the package goes public. Across the ocean, the palace is already preparing for the fallout. Lawyers have drafted internal memos outlining the worst-case scenarios. Archie and Lilibet stripped from the line of succession, royal titles withdrawn, constitutional review committees reactivated, for the first time in modern history. One advisor warned privately, if even half of this checks out, the monarchy enters uncharted territory. For 1,000 years, crowns have fallen to wars, scandals, and abdications, but never to a birth certificate. Night falls over Buckingham Palace, but the lights stay on. Inside, senior advisors whisper over thick folders marked private and confidential. The air smells of panic and printer ink. The Queen's portrait watches over rooms filled not with ceremony, but with crisis. Across the Atlantic, in a quiet Colorado home, a woman named DL holds a small archive box. NDAs, medical forms, and emails. Proof she never meant to use, but can no longer ignore. And in California, two people who once promised transparency now sit in silence, realizing that for the first time since leaving royal life, there's no camera, no interview, and no control. Because the question is no longer, did they lie? The real question is, what happens when the truth escapes them? If DL steps forward, this stops being a story about two children. It becomes a story about a kingdom built on legacy, and the secret that could fracture it forever. The sun may have set on the British Empire long ago, but inside those palace walls, another empire still flickers, one built on silence, image, and control. And somewhere in the quiet between truth and denial, history waits for the sound of the first domino falling.